Let's see, Deborah. So if you don't have one, an agreement will be placed upon you, whether you like terms or not. Mhm. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely correct. So Deborah reiterated, if you do not have an operating agreement, there is already what's called an LLCA, the Limited Liability Company Act here in Georgia. That statute is very similar state by state by state. See what yours is called, but you have a statute and it's going to govern your LLC. And it has every I we have to read stacks. I read the whole stack. It have any issues that you could think of, it's covered in there. And if you run into an issue either with partners in your LLC or someone who just did business with you, if you run into this issue, the court will first say, "Give me your operating agreement that speaks to how you handle these type of issues." And the court respects that agreement because it is a legal entity. And what do we respect in America? Contract. You have contract law. And because the court knows that you and your entity are not one and the same, even if it's one of you, I want you to hear this all. Even if it's just you have to know your LLC and you are not one and the same. So when you do an agreement, operating agreement, you're signing that operating agreement as a capacity of you as a member of your LLC. And so the court will look at, here's your operating agreement, and this is how you say will be handled. Then this is how we're going to deal with that. If you don't have it, they're going to go to section 2.5 I and say this is how we're going to handle this issue because you have an agreement. You just have to choose which one you actually want to be governed by. So operating agreement is important. And that's why I'm here to talk to you all. Because when I say the reason why I picked these top questions, please know these are the top things I'm seeing. I'm feeding you because these are the top things. These 7 questions is not it, but these 7 questions are the pillar. Like they're the foundation, they're the top. This is what's catching people and hitting them hard. All right. So the next question you need to ask yourself is, do I need a license or permit? A lot of times we get up and running. We say, okay, I established my entity, let's go. And we forget about that important part that a business license is generally required to run a business. Again, I'm going to focus more on in Georgia. This is where I'm located, but please check everywhere you're at. It's the same. I mean, all states are mirroring each other with slight differences. A business license is generally required to run a business in Georgia. And most businesses that are operating in Georgia, they must obtain a business license, your county, and/or city, and it could be your local municipalities or subdivisions. Sometimes people get this one license. You have to make sure the business you're running, what obligations do you have and to whom? What licenses you need? And licenses may be totally different than permit, right? You may be running specific trades, professions that you may need permits as well. So you have the business license and you want to make sure you are reviewing your local ordinance to ensure that you're in compliance to having the business license that you need. It is, unlawful to operate certain businesses without business licenses, especially let's just say food establishments, right? Without obtaining it. And you may have some people that feel like, I'm not this big restaurant. Well, if you're established enough where you have food sales and it's a food sales establishment, you're not supposed to be operating without a license from the Commissioner of Agriculture. You have to read to see what those requirements are to see if you are exempt. And while I'm talking about this, I do want to say quickly because this is a common thing, right? Because again, a lot of us are sole owners, sole entrepreneurs, and we are just on the go. We're just trying to do it. When we're talking about business license and running a business, you have to be very careful about the business being at your home and you live in an apartment complex, right? So we got to talk about one, Can the type of business that you want to run, is it zoned for you to run that business in that area? But more importantly, if you live in an apartment complex, can you be running your own business in an apartment complex that you don't own? That becomes an issue, right? You want to definitely check your leases, but even if it's not in there, if you find out legally that you're not supposed to do it, when an issue arises and you have your apartment complex as the principal place of business, there's a big problem when you're talking about running a company. So I wanted to make sure I pull that out because that is a common thing, right? So it's not just about like when you register your business. We talked about earlier registering your entity. A lot of times you have individuals that put their home address. That's one issue, right? But more bigger than your home address being on Front Street, it's are you even supposed to be using that home address if you don't own that home? And if you own that home, is your area zoned for the type of business that you actually attached to that address? So here in Georgia, they're really big on it. I'm just talking about even a few cases just to give you an idea what goes on in this court system. So you may have some exemptions of when you don't have to get a business license I mentioned earlier, but what I want you to do is really be knowledgeable about one, what those exemptions are, two, how do you qualify for it? Georgia court here has held and have convicted individuals who said that they were exempted from having a business license. There's a particular case where there was this disabled veteran who believed that the requirement for having a business license for the business that he ran, he was exempted. And the court here in Georgia found that that disabled veteran, that business owner, failed to meet the requirements for the license. So although he said I'm a disabled veteran and all the things listed, there were particular paperwork, particular things, particular language that had to be submitted to say you fit this exemption. Not that you're just disabled, but you fit it. This disabled veteran even had, expert witnesses as doctors, and because they weren't corroborating on certain levels of issues, saying that he was good to do this or that, then in the totality, the court said, no, you did not, you failed to meet the requirement of the exemptions. So I want to let you know, whatever you think your situation is, you could be looking at yourself, look at the situation, say, okay, I'm exempted. Make sure you're reading what you actually have to meet in order to be considered exempted by the state, not by you. Also, I wanna bring up in the court, some people may say, "Oh, this is a small thing, right? I'm not doing anything major or big." Well, let me tell you how Georgia courts look. They have convicted, business owners who are operating home improvement business without a license. I'm talking about things from, like, just, uh, paintings and all this extra stuff, right? Home improvements. And they didn't have a business license to do it. They thought what they were doing was small, and they said, "No, home improvements require a business license, and you need to have a license." Um, we have someone that was in Georgia that qualified as a dealer under the Georgia Dealers in Agriculture Products that did not have a business license dealing in that realm. And you know what the court did here in Georgia to that particular defendant? All of the contracts that that business owner entered into could not recover under those contracts because it was related to doing and entering into contracts as unlicensed business activities. So this is why it's very important to pay attention because if something was to happen and someone want to come back after you, and we're talking about contract issues or whatever it is, and I'm going to tell you what attorneys do, right? You're here. I'm giving you the nuggets. We have to drill down and look at all the things. These are some of the things we're going to check off to see if we can help our client prevail if we on one end or help our client, excel on the other. we're going to look at these things. Oh, this person in this contract, okay, did they have a business license? Do they need a business license? These are the things that we're going to ask. So you have to ask yourself to make sure that you're fully protected. You can move forward. Do what I do, require a business license.